Companies make promises and claims every single day in an effort to sell their product and their image to consumers. But for a person who just needs new shoes, there's never any real way to prove what they're saying is true. But one of the best third-party certifications that we have to verify a company's intentions is the legendary B Corporation Certification. But can we even trust them? The B Corp certification has become a world-recognized standard, a widely trusted label reassuring you that your purchase is supporting a company that meets certain ethical and sustainable benchmarks. It's one of the best certifications out there, and yet somehow there is some sketchy-ass companies within the B certification world. This video was inspired by our wonderful Reddit community, who raised some very valid concerns about Nespresso achieving B Corp status right around the time that we released our Nespresso hate video detailing how they're basically the worst ever. Thank you to Reddit users Jada Vegan and Daylika for your insight on this particular matter. Now, we take our community suggestions pretty seriously, so if you aren't already a part of that Reddit page, you should definitely try it out. This is kind of a difficult video for us to make, but one that we feel is kind of important. We have on multiple occasions advocated for B corporations, and we have relied on the certification to help judge the future-proofness of various businesses. We want to believe in the label, but at the same time, we can't ignore some of the issues that have been popping up around it. So brace yourselves for a doozy. I'm more so talking to myself there in that moment. One last little disclaimer before we get into it here. This video is extremely unlikely to do well on the YouTube algorithm, so if you want to help us out, you can share it with your friends or on your favorite group chat or Facebook page. For starters, I think we can all agree that B certification began with good intentions. B Lab was founded in 2006 by 3 friends who wanted to challenge the way we think of business. To this day, the prevailing mentality is that businesses are there to benefit shareholders first and foremost. But before B Lab was a thing, this ideology was way more pervasive. Universities literally taught that it is your fiducial duty to focus on profit above all else, lest your stock price go down and shareholders get mad at you.
That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me!
And yet, everyone can see plainly that obsessions with profits leads to the destruction of communities, the planet, and often even the business itself. Just watch pretty much anything on this channel if you don't believe me. But the founders of B Lab believed, as do we, that businesses don't have to be this way and can genuinely help and improve the world around them. They wanted to promote this idea and push businesses to move away from business as usual to a business model centered around a triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. Their whole raison d'etre is to make business a source of good. And the B, by the way, stands for benefit, as in a company should benefit the world. They have partnered with attorneys, business leaders, and investors to develop a criteria for a new certification. This new label would accomplish a few different things. It would help businesses self-evaluate and give them ideas on how to improve, all while helping customers suss out the real deal amidst a sea of greenwashing. Basically, it would help businesses be responsible, then monetize their admirable efforts in order to succeed and grow. But in order to accomplish all of this, certification had to be thorough, comprehensive, and a process that consumers could trust. And that's exactly what B Lab was meant to be. The certification process starts with a business filling out a free online impact assessment. This covers 3 main issues, but includes things like governance, workers, community, environment, and customers. It's a lengthy, in-depth questionnaire designed to make sure a company has the good of the world at the center of what they do, that they're selling customers on a product that actually benefits them, and their materials and emissions aren't destroying the planet needlessly, that they're involved with their local communities, and that they treat their workforce well, and that these things are values that are embedded into the mission for what they want to see in the world. B Lab actually takes this a step further by insisting that any registered B corporations have these values ingrained ingrained into the company's DNA at a legal level in such a way that changing leadership or what have you can't totally overhaul or change the company vision. To this end, a company might register with the government to become a legal benefit corporation. Now, this online tool takes these answers and gives a business a numeric rating with a possible score of 250 plus, 80 being a pass and 50.9 being what a ordinary business is. Then from there, a business can seek verification, in which B Lab will ask for supporting documents to back up their responses and possibly arrange for site visits. B Lab then spends some months making sure the company does what they say that they're doing, and then more likely than not denies their application. B Lab got a reputation for being rigorous for a reason. Only 30% of applications actually end up certified, and those have to go through the same process every 3 years to say certified. So as you can see, by many accounts, this shit's hard. B Corp status is a difficult thing to achieve, but that's exactly why it's done so well. It should mean something to earn this label. The first B Corps were certified in 2007, and since then the label has attracted over 6,000 businesses in almost 90 countries. A healthy majority of these businesses are small businesses with under 50 employees, but leaders in sustainability and human rights such as Patagonia and Tentree have also put their names behind the label. But here's the thing, B Corporation status has become a recognized symbol, and even mainstream companies have caught on that this certification is probably a pretty good business choice for them.
I like to party, I'm Rod.
No, you're Kevin.
Right, Kevin. I party.
So now we have that B Corp sticker under big names like Unilever, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, and yes, even Nespresso, which is owned by Nestle, has the B Corp stamp of approval. And yeah, this kind of sucks a lot because we'd probably have to do a full multi-season docu-series to detail just how totally and utterly depraved Nestle is as a corporation. But to summarize, they're just literally the worst. From forced labor to mass deforestation, toxic baby food, there's a reason bloggers talk about these guys as basically the most evil corporation in the entire world. And Nespresso is just one of many brands that Nestle owns. We've already covered Nespresso's shady dealings in another video, but to sum it up, they took the habit of making your morning coffee, which was waste-free to begin with, and then made these little pods so that it tasted bad and you had something to throw out after. But if you were to look at their website, you'd think that they were single-handedly tackling climate change themselves. As The Guardian so evocatively put it, Nespresso coffee pods create enough aluminum landfill waste to create 60 statues of liberty every single year. And that's based off of a conservative estimate. So how the are they a registered B Corporation? Turns out that as thorough as the B Corp impact assessment is, it has some significant issues with weighting. Not like waiting in a waiting room, but waiting as in where you put the weight of your argument when you're presenting information. For example, here is Nespresso's response to a question aimed to evaluate worker conditions. They've ticked off some nice sounding things, a non-discrimination statement, an anti-harassment policy, but notice that they didn't tick off this. They got full points for this question, which seems to be a pattern throughout their assessment. They get all these little points by providing easy perks while ignoring all the things that, might also be important, like basic human rights. They're like that college buddy who, instead of actually learning the course material, just use the grading breakdown to figure out how to do the bare minimum to get a pass. Turns out you still get the 20% participation grade if you're asleep in the back row. Now, in many cases, from the companies that I've actually talked to personally who have gained the B Corp status, often a corporation has to hire a dedicated person to work on the B Corp application every 3 years. And you know that if small businesses are doing it, then Nespresso probably has a whole team on this shit. So what was the B Lab's response to this, right? There's a mouse in the house and the cat actually knows about it. Well, it turns out that the mouse and the cat are homies now? As you can imagine, the Nespresso certification came with no small amount of backlash. Just think of how many hundreds or thousands of small businesses worked hard and honestly for their B Lab certification, only for that certification to be cheapened with this new member of the club. By all appearances, B Lab seemed genuinely excited to welcome Nespresso to the B Lab team. Look at how they combat backlash from critics on Twitter. Becoming a B Corp means Nespresso now has both a verified framework and an influential community holding them accountable to continue to improve their social and environmental performance and be transparent about progress. Basically, they want you to know that corporate responsibility is a journey, that Nespresso is just beginning, and that they'll continue to improve their score, even though there's no real incentive for them to do this, but I guess that's sort of off the point, maybe. Now, I get it. Tests like this can be incredibly difficult to perfect. There's always going to be a way to cheat the system, and there will always be some bad actors, but when that bad actor is a $300 billion mega corporation who is literally known for being diabolical, just don't give it to them, maybe? Oh my God, and the optimist in me, it wants to believe the B Lab is just being an adorable, naive, stupid little puppy in all of this. That they genuinely think that Nespresso is just changed for the better or some shit. Or that Nespresso is the Sirius Black of the, Black family in Harry Potter. I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. He's the black sheep of the black family. But listen, I think I can speak for a lot of the B community when I say that I would have liked to see B Lab take this awkward incident as an opportunity to reevaluate their methodology and address some of the now undeniable flaws. I want to know that when I buy from a B Corp, that at least basic human rights are being respected. There is hope though. It does actually look like B Lab is doing just that, in some ways. In September of 2002, they released a draft of updated requirements for feedback, which includes actual non-negotiables this time and overall tougher standards, as well as special requirements for recertification. This should mean that companies have to pass basic human rights standards and also demonstrate that they're continuing to improve in order to keep their certification, not just float by on whatever medium they achieved in the first place. We, of course, don't know the final forms of these new requirements. They've still got a lot of testing to do, but hopefully when the new standards start rolling out in 2024, it'll be a bit harder for evil mega corporations to cheat the system. But there are probably things that we won't see in the new standards. For example, there has been valid criticism that Nespresso shouldn't be allowed to be in the club period, seeing as their whole business model is about producing literal trash. No matter how Nespresso treats their workers, coffee pods are still dumb as shit, and nobody is gonna convince me otherwise. I'm sorry. And yet B Lab doesn't seem particularly concerned about this obvious clash of values. The argument here is that if B Lab really wants to change the world and beckon in a new era of enlightened capitalism, they have to make space for these big corporations. They are well aware that these awkward realities exist, but they have consciously decided to make some concessions for the sake of welcoming in the bigwigs, which doesn't sit super well with me. I mean, I get where they're going, but there's gotta be a line somewhere. And I'm not alone in worrying that the B Lab's continued quest to draw in big corporations will just keep weakening their overall vision. Maybe these massive corporations are actually buying into the responsibility stuff that they're pushing with the B Corp thing. And maybe they gave them $1 billion, and that's gonna allow B Corp to expand in other ways.
How about $1 billion? All right.
But it does just feel like Nespresso is using the certification to greenwash themselves and attract more dollar bills. And they're not the first to do it, and they're not gonna be the last. They've proven in very public ways that the worst of the worst can get a green facelift from B Lab. And you can bet that other companies are paying attention. And that leaves us in a super awkward position. It is no secret that we at Futureproof are huge fans of third-party certifications. It's one of the simplest ways to know something about the companies that you're supporting. But okay, we're not all completely lost. Maybe we don't have to hurl ourselves into the abyss. Here's the thing. Just because B Corps have significant flaws doesn't mean that it can't be a useful tool. Despite some of these concerns, B Lab has undeniably started a movement and proven that businesses can be a force for change. It's largely thanks to B Lab that businesses can legally register to be benefit corporations in many states. And you could say that this movement has been so successful that even massive power-hungry corporations are jumping on the bandwagon. The fact that this level of greenwashing exists is kind of a positive thing. So here's where we are going to be taking our perspective on B Lab certifications moving into the future, because we're not going to throw it out completely. As we mentioned before, B Lab scores are rated on a scale, and there's nothing saying that you have to accept their 80-point benchmark when there's companies like Patagonia scoring almost double that. And it's especially encouraging to see the B Lab label alongside other certifications. We are personally fans of the 1% for the Planet label, in which businesses donate at least 1% of their revenue to a verified environmental cause. It doesn't say a lot about how a business is run per se, but it assures you that at the very least, some of the money you spend is going to something other than making CEOs rich. Now, we are biased, of course, because Future Proof is a 1% for the Planet member. That means that every time you watch our videos, you like, you subscribe, or you support us in any way, 1% of the total revenue, gross revenue, goes towards an environmental nonprofit. We would love to do some deeper dives into other certifications like Fair Trade, Certified Organic, Rainforest Alliance, and so on. So if that's something that you would like to see, let us know down in the comments. And of course, remember that you're the reason why this whole thing exists. So thank you, and maybe share with your homies if you think that they might care about B Corps too.